podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright.
And Brian, a lot of good things going on. A lot we're going to talk about today. But as we were getting ready to press the record button to get going today, you took a sip of coffee and you said what?
The best part of waking up.
And then I replied,
then you said,
"It's Folgers in your cup." So we're
yeah,
not sponsored by
I keep telling
Folgers.
you can sing. I keep telling you can sing. I could hear it right there. You have skill. I don't know why you don't believe in yourself in regards to that. But I was gonna say, dude, we grew up in this kind of the best time. Like that little window between
like mid 80s to mid 90s. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Where you had freedom to ride your bike 2 or 3 miles. You had, not quite internet, but you had some modern technology.
Not really internet. We didn't have internet. Gen X. I mean, we're the Gen X.
Well, I had internet in 95, 96 at my house. My dad was an IT guy. Now, if you wanted to see something, it came down in panels and pixels.
It took forever. Yeah, we were early adopters. We got internet like summer of '96. Yeah. I remember. I think I'm vividly the first time I've ever heard of the internet goes back to Latin class my senior year.
God, I think it was really advantageous for you.
I love Latin class. We were doing a project, and I think I did mine on the Roman Colosseum and gladiator battles and things like that. Some other kid did it. I don't even know what it was. Aaron Azell was his name. Smart kid. And I got to actually coach his daughter in the future and like coach Pitt softball. And she was a good little ball player. But he did his report, was really good, way better than mine. And the teacher asked, like, Aaron, where did you get all this information? And he goes, the World Wide Web. And I was like, what is that? Is that a new kind of encyclopedia? And Aaron kind of explained what the internet was to the class. I was like, ooh, that's, because I was kind of a computer guy. We had an Apple IIe pretty early, and we always had computers in the house growing up. But
well, it's really incredible. You think about how that changed the world. But before we made this live, the only thing I was talking about, dude, the commercials during our time felt like they had a lot more thought to them. I mean, still and maybe the generation before that is the same way. And I was like, man, this is a great time to grow up. The 40s, you grew up worrying about war and scarcity, right? You're just coming out of the Great Depression. The 50s seems like a pretty good time, and the 60s seems like a pretty good time as well. But man, it was great commercials.
Right? So I was very, I'm a big love the Beatles. The Wonder Years is still one of my favorite shows of all time. Yeah. And we think back to, hey, that generation said that's the golden era. That was the best time to grow up. And then you watch the Wonder Years and you look back like, oh man, like late 60s, 70s, like, gosh, they're Vietnam. They were protesting Vietnam. There was a lot.
Yeah, that is actually, you're absolutely right. The 60s and 70s. Culture. Yeah.
And so I think we look back with rose-colored glasses on whatever era. I'm going to 100% agree with you that the early to mid 80s through the late 90s, because that's when we grew up, right? That's the music we love.
Hey, do you think this generation, like our kids, will be like, we grew up in the best time? We had guys dressing up as girls and, trying to play other sports. We grew up in the best. Do you think they'll say the same thing?
I think our this generation of kids, so the ones who grew up, and I think every generation has like a world event, right? So for us, it was 9/11.
Yeah.
That kind of marks everybody. For this generation, it's COVID, right? And the pandemic. And that's, I mean, it's awful and terrible and tragic as 9/11 was. It unified, it brought people together, right? Across the pandemic literally split the nation, split the world to some extent. And I think it created more division. And so I don't, to answer your question, I don't know what they'll say. I mean, hopefully we'll still be around in 20 years to have our, grandkids and things like that and ask them, hey, what, and I know it was a terrible time, but I think
there were positives though, right? There are positives for them. I'm sure they may remember that as a positive. From and it depends on how old, from the standpoint, no school, a very, very, had a year off of no school.
Yeah, you're virtual.
Like, it depends on how old you are, right? If you're 16, 17, 18, and your girls were trying to get recruited, no bueno. But if you're 10, 11, 12, and you were in third, fourth, fifth grade, and you had school for 2 hours, online school for 2 hours, then you played video games for 6 hours, and then maybe you went and played outside. That's a pretty good time.
Yeah. So I think my son, who was younger, elementary, he remembers it pretty fondly because that was his memory. My oldest daughter, she was a sophomore.
Yeah.
They were 5 games, and she was looking forward to softball season. Like that was her most exciting part of the season, time of school year for her. And her team was off to a great start. I think they were 4-1 or 5-1. She had hit 5 home runs in 5 games, was killing it. Like she was doing great. And the team, I think in 5 games had like 14 or 15 home. Like they were swinging it.
Hey, just give her a reference. What did she do? Total numbers her junior and total numbers her senior.
So her junior year, they only played 12 games. Because
and how many home runs did she hit?
Like 3.
Right.
So she never got that swing flow, whatever it was, got in that rhythm. And she was just, it felt like every pitch she saw was like, oh, she's going to light this thing up. But anyway, so the pandemic cut that season short. So that's always going to
be. That group will not find. I think if you were like 8th, 9th grade up, it was a terrible experience.
Yeah. And then they're having to, the next couple, she had to pitch with a mask on and stuff. I'm like, what are we?
So stupid.
And we've seen stuff now coming out, and it's just, so I don't want to go down that rabbit trail for sure. But
hey, I will say one positive. Our neighborhood, we had a pretty, for like every week or maybe twice a week, like a full-fledged like wiffle ball game in with neighbors, and for the ones who didn't want to, kind of.
We were fine being outside. No, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah, fine. And we were very similar. So, man, that's awesome. Yeah. So, hey, exciting times right now. So, so for me, I was up at about 5:50. Got the smoker going. We got some people coming over to the house. So I got a Boston butt going. I got a turkey on there. I'm going to throw a brisket on here as soon as we're done talking.
How many people you got coming over, Paulie?
A couple families. So we invited, my son's basketball coaches, we invited them over to, say thank you for coaching this year. And I was just going to do a butt and a brisket, but then one of the coaches said, hey, our family doesn't eat pork. And I don't think it's for a religious reason. I think they're just trying to be healthy. And
hard to be friends with people like that.
Nah, they're wonderful people.
It's hard for me. I judge. I said,
you know what?
Yeah,
I got turkey. I'll put the turkey on. So now, I'm happy about it because I get turkey too. So, and then I'm gonna make some smoked salsa as well. I like to use the energy of the smoker throughout the day if I can. So, excited about that. Love having people over for dinner. So, I'm excited about that. But Brian, I know what you mentioned you're doing.
I was gonna say, dude, I talked to a buddy yesterday, my buddy Morgan, and he called me at like, I don't know, later than normal, or maybe we tried to connect, and he didn't call me back, and he's like, he was at the High Point University college baseball game.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
Like, dude, it's just so, there's so many places in North Carolina. Like, if you literally just pull off the road, and you can find somewhere to go watch a game, and a pretty good quality game. There are a couple of scouts there that he had connected with, and that he knew, and so they were talking, and about how things had changed. And one of the things I wanted to bring to you that he had mentioned from this guy was talking about baseball going to 10 rounds. Talking about scouts during the draft.
The draft, okay.
Yeah, going to 10 rounds.
I thought you were talking about innings, changing innings.
No.
I was like, what?
You would like that. You would like more for sure.
Yeah.
But so talking about so the draft go to 10 rounds.
Wow.
Also said that he sees like scouts maybe completely going away because there's so much information you can find everywhere else.
Well, kids are giving it to the organizations and colleges and teams. Yeah, they're selling themselves, and they're going to these big events where you don't have to be a bird dog scout and head out to one high school game a night, or maybe 2 games a night if you get lucky, and see 2 kids in the same evening. But no, I would, and everything's streamed.
And then the other thing that took me, and it hurt my heart a little bit, but very much going to metrics driven. Like the stuff that we talk about that matters, but should be secondary, not primary, is, hey, your exit velos, your, how fast you can swing the bat.
Yeah.
That stuff. And don't even, hey, even averages, it's amazing. Like even averages, um, you know, are just becoming less and less important. And there's something to guys that can barrel balls and
Yeah.
really getting into the biomechanics. Like if you look a certain way and your body moves a certain way, that automatically eliminates you, no matter what everything else is. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, there's some guys.
So Babe Ruth doesn't make a team these days.
Yeah, because he's a little bit tight hipped, right?
Yeah.
And he pulled off with his front side.
He's a little
And
punty. Yeah.
you know, I was watching yesterday on Instagram, and I sent it to my father that they had a full at bat of Mickey Mantle, right? And he was
Okay.
flying open with his front side.
Lefty
And
or
it's
righty?
like, say that again.
Is he lefty or righty?
He was hitting righty,
Okay, so that's his natural side.
and he was pulling off with that front side, and he laced a either single or double into left center. And it was a full at bat. Different. They did the camera angles from behind the batter, not in front behind the pitcher. So
Yeah, it was different. Yeah, they didn't have the technology to do
so
it.
those guys. I mean, how many guys will be missed because of, hey, he is tight in his hips. He doesn't move the way we think he should move. He doesn't. I mean, they're so like Ortiz. You remember Ortiz with the Boston Red Sox, dude? His swing. I don't think guys like that would meet metrics anymore, right? And so
The ball jumped off his bat pretty good. Well, here's the thing that, and we've talked about this. Look, man, I don't care how fast the ball comes off your barrel, off a tee or a front toss.
exactly.
If you can't hit the ball when it's coming at you, you can't hit the ball.
It doesn't matter.
If you can't keep your hands back on a changeup or something that's spinning, who cares? You can be a 5 o'clock hitter all day. All right. So for those who a 5 o'clock hitter is somebody who looks great in BP,
Oh yeah.
but then hits all the home runs, looks impressive, oohs and ahs. But you get them in a game, they don't perform when the lights come on. So it's okay to be a 5 o'clock hitter as long as you can do it when the game turns on. And that's why you see a lot of guys when they're taking BP, you watch them and you want to go see home run, but you're like, oh, they're just flipping line drives over the shortstop's head or second baseman's head, and because they're legitimately working on things. They're working on staying back, getting through the ball, driving it the other way, hitting the ball where it's pitched, sort of thing. And yeah, that does. I've seen it a lot with our girls and the scouting and recruiting and how metrics play into that, and velocity and exit velocity, and ultimately it comes down to like, hey, can you pitch? Can you hit? Can you get on base? Can you score runs?
Can you beat the guy? The good thing is, and you said it, and I think I'm not going to say it right, so you have to correct me. But like baseball is the ultimate like one-on-one team sport.
Yeah.
And can you beat the guy in front of you, whether you're pitching or whether you're hitting? And the great thing about baseball yesterday, Elon is playing Texas A&M at Texas A&M. There's like 8,000 people there. They're blowing bubbles. I don't even see how this is legal. Bubbles are everywhere at Texas A&M. I mean, people are going nuts. I mean, bubbles are. I mean, I would be so pissed if I was trying to hit with bubbles flying across the front between the ball.
That doesn't seem legal.
No, it's completely obnoxious. But they were up 2-0. The pitcher lost it. They bring in another guy, ends up walking in 3 guys. The next guy ends up walking in 3 guys.
Elon did?
Elon did. Yeah, they ended up losing 4-2. So the number 1 team in the country had a great game they've got a weekend series with Texas A&M at Texas A&M. What a way to open up your weekend or open up your season.
Yeah.
But man, what an environment down there. Dude, it was packed. Supposedly the stadium only sits 6,100, but that doesn't include people in the outfield or something. And so they estimated the crowd at like 8,000. Bubbles everywhere. The famously with Texas A&M, you walk somebody, all of a sudden they yell ball 5, ball 5, ball 5, until you eventually. And dude, there was guys who could not, and again, dude, that's a tough environment at 18, 19, 20 years old, dude. And it was awesome.
So that's interesting because I wanted to talk about that today. So I got a chance to see one of my daughters play softball yesterday. They were up in Winston-Salem, so we drove over and watched. And I've seen this and known this for a while. Softball players from the time they're little to through college, they're senior, they do cheers and almost like cheerleading. It's like modified cheerleading. They do little chants and songs and I've heard them all. And some of them are really funny and clever, and some are just stupid and obnoxious. But softball players talk more. I think they talk more trash collectively than any other sport. except they do it in cheer, like rhythmic form, and it sounds so positive and energetic that everybody's just like, oh yeah, because they'll do these cheers and it's like, kind of talking trash to the pitcher about how they're terrible. It's like, oh, but they're singing it, so they're doing it together. It's fine.
It's okay.
Because
it's kind of like art, right? You hear some of these songs, and you're like, dude, you couldn't say that in normal communication, and then it's like, oh, it's art, and so yeah, it's kind of the same. They found the loophole.
They found a loophole, yeah, loophole. So Brian, I know you got a chance to watch NC State a little bit yesterday. College baseball's kicking off. Seems to be a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, and man, especially some of those SEC schools, right? Just the investment they've made in some of those stadiums is really cool. And Texas A&M part of the SEC now. So, what have you seen kind of really, really early on? What are you excited about? What are the things you're looking forward to this college baseball season?
I wasn't going to go there yet. I mean, looking forward to just how teams actually play. Well, yeah, but just how it eventually plays out, right? I embrace the underdog from an NC State perspective. When you look at the stadium, you look at investment. I feel like NC State does a great job of bringing in guys that can compete at this level, but probably could have went to some other places and got more money or had a better environment. I watched probably more of the Texas A&M game because NC State dominated them, and the games weren't close. And the thing I noticed, dude, every guy played somewhere else last year. It feels like 60% of guys. Hey, there was at Texas A&M. There's a guy from Georgia Tech starting. There's a guy from Pitt starting. And dude, that was kind of, it's the same thing in NC State. Everybody goes to a certain level, competes, does well, proves himself, and then I talked to Avent last year, and he was saying that essentially you have agents, or I guess they are called advisors.
Yeah, but they can be agents now. They're agents now. That's NIL.
Okay. So they have agents, and what happens is the guy has a good year, and they're either asking for more money, or they're shopping them around and going to all these schools and be like, hey, Paul Stewart, he had a great year at Old Dominion, played, again, a really good league. He hit 380 with 14 home runs. He plays.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, he pitches, and we've got this school. This school's interesting. What would you? And so all of a sudden, Old Dominion has lost their best player that they've recruited, maybe developed, whatever the case may be, and you're gone, and you go get $100,000 or $50,000, whatever that is, and it's hard to argue.
It's life-changing money. I mean, I don't say life-changing, but
life easier money.
It gets you going on the right foot, and we're both professionals. We work, and looking back, and again, when I got my signing bonus, I was kind of clueless to it. I didn't understand what that meant, how much money that was, or really how to manage or invest it, sort of thing, right? But that's and people get really upset and worked up about it and don't think it's right. In fact, but it's like, look,
you don't blame the kid.
We jump to different jobs for $10,000 a year, right? We bounce around and move around as professionals. They're just doing it earlier, and they have more opportunities. I don't fault anybody for it. I'm all in for it. I do think I don't like it for the coaches. I think the coaches have kind of gotten screwed in this. I think that the NCAA could have done things literally decades ago to kind of prevent this from getting to where it is now. But I think coaches are, man, you've got to recruit your kid, get your kid on campus, keep your kid happy, keep recruiting your kid so that they don't go somewhere else. But and then hope that your collectives and your people who are sending money to the school are ponying up. So it's I don't know why we even call it amateur sports anymore, realistically.
Well, it's not, and I would say this: the thing, you went from high school to professional baseball, so you didn't necessarily get to experience it. It's really the time where you, at least my time, where you truly got good players that their only goal is to win, right? And I feel like that's being lost, right, with this, because you got a lot of alternative, kind of thoughts. I mean, NC State's 2-0. ECU went 1-1 against. They're playing George Mason, and so they were 1-1 to start the season. And dude, I know from just different conversations, like ECU, Godwin down there, he hates it, right? Because he's like, not only are you having to find players, you have to find the right players culturally. You have to find players. You have to recruit your own players because their agents, their people are saying, hey, in this conference, ECU, this guy did this. And so, dude, it is really, really, it would be a challenge. The great thing is, the reality is, dude, you need 9 or 10 position players. I think you almost got to treat it like a minor league team. You need 9 or 10 position players, and you need 9 or 10.
24 guys on the roster.
Yeah. You need 24 real guys on the roster. And
half of them are pitchers, realistically.
That's exactly right. And
but you look at these rosters though, and like I've seen it, a lot of these schools have like they call them dev teams or development teams, which are essentially kind of JV teams. And for some of these smaller schools, their enrollment is down. Their enrollment is hurting since COVID, right? And so one way for administration to bring in new money is like, hey, let's spin up a new team. Oh, do you have scholarships to give them? Not really. I mean, we can give them a little academic money, but so if a school costs, $25,000 a year, they're paying 15, right? But they're on campus. They're doing all the other, right?
Well, I know people that in regards to like Lewisburg, right? I think we talked about it as from a professional standpoint, what the enrollment was. My understanding is at least at one time this year, they had 70 guys on their baseball roster. 70.
What are you doing?
I don't know, dude. I mean, hey, they give them like, hey, you get $500 academic money. It's like, he's on a scholarship, but he's paying what, 60 grand or whatever it is to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the thing. Back to your original question, the thing I'm excited about is, dude, you have guys like for NC State, for example, they had Sosa last year, hit about $190, and didn't really swing it that great, but you could see it was there.
Yeah.
And so he had a great day yesterday, and
good.
So seeing the jump from first year, you're in an environment, to the second year, I think it's kind of the fun thing. If you truly follow a team. If you don't follow a team, you pull for underdogs, and you hope Elon somehow figures out how to get one from Texas A&M, the #1 team in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's jump. So tonight is one of my favorite nights. The NBA skills, 3-point, and dunk competition. I've loved this night since I was a kid, right? Or like early, teen. It's a fun thing to see how athletic those guys are, and the dunk contest kind of went through a lull and we've talked a little bit about this, Brian. Like, how much more can you do just as a human, just like physically? How much more creative can you be? Like, I just don't know what the next iteration of that is. And like, clearly there was a bunch of really good ones way back with, Vince Carter in 2000 had some just, it's felt like he could like legitimately fly, dude. He would just hang up there forever and do whatever he wanted. And, the Jordan Dominique ones from way back in the mid, late 80s were kind of epic. More recently, it was Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine had a really good kind of.
Zach LaVine is incredibly fun to watch as an athlete.
Yeah. But then we've had Mac McClung win a couple, and he's in the G League or D League, whatever it is, and he's coming back to defend his dunk title tonight. So, I like just watching the athleticism.
I think that is one event that is almost an advantage that if you're white, because
less expectations.
Well, I think it's almost like the white DBs with the Eagles, right? They kind of got their dynamic duo or whatever, and they had 2 DBs. It's one of those things where it's almost like, but honestly, it's not really a racist thing, as in you see guys look a certain way the majority of the time that are in those events, and then all of a sudden you see somebody different. I mean, McClung, how would you feel to be McClung and clearly be athletic enough to win the dunk contest, but not good enough to play in the league? That is a really, like, usually the white player is, hey, he's really smart, he's sneaky athletic, he really knows where to be when he doesn't have the ball. He moves well without the ball.
Well, it's all the coded racism things, right?
Yeah, which I'm fine with. But it's it would be really frustrating if I was him and you're good enough to win the dunk contest, but you're not good enough to win the get on a a roster.
Well, there's a lot of people who can just go out there and I say a lot. There are people who go out there and dunk, but can't dribble a ball or shoot the ball, right? I mean, dunking is a lot just being a good athlete, right? It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be skilled.
But there's some coordination there, Paulie.
There definitely is. But I'm saying because you can dunk doesn't mean you can shoot or dribble or pass or do some other things, right? There's a couple of like YouTubers out there who just got there do these amazing dunks, but yeah, when you can do it with a running start and don't have to dribble and don't have to do other things, and I think
that was always kind of our criticism of like Vince Carter because he looked athletically superior.
Vince was a good player though. Vince could shoot a little bit.
For sure. But we talked about a little bit in another episode where it's like, yeah, he was all those things and played forever and a really good player, but you felt like he was going to be the guy. And he never felt like he was.
He never did turn into Jordan, but I mean, still had like a 20-year NBA career. You can't
for sure.
Yeah, tough to beat that. But so I'll be watching that, and the 3-point competition. I think is just watching. That's one of those things that it always looks like fun to do, like to like just go out in your yard and try to do that, but like who has like 40 basketballs just in the yard on 5 racks or whatever it is just to go shoot threes. But that one always looks like a lot of fun to have at least attempted. So excited to see all those things tonight. All right, Brian, how close were you ever to dunking a basketball?
I could actually when I was
could you?
Yeah. But I couldn't until I'd really gotten with a trainer. My last year, I'd hurt my back the year before. Went to a real trainer, and we were doing real stuff, kind of like I do with my kid now. And so I could a girls' basketball or smaller, not completely a full size. I went throwing it down
like a volleyball or something.
Yeah, so I knew my metrics at that point. I was weighed 218, was like 7% body fat, and I had like a 33.5-inch vertical. Not great.
Pretty solid. So were you 2-hand? Were you a 1-foot jumper or 2-foot jumper?
I could dunk because we didn't do it a ton. We just did it as kind of a fun test kind of deal. And I see guys kind of taking on that today as kind of drills. So I was a 2-foot when I got it down. I could jump higher off 1 foot. But when I was dunking in that environment, and again, it wasn't dunking; it was getting it over the rim.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I was. So what? You were 6? You're 6 foot 6'1"?
I mean, 6 foot barefoot. We'll go 6'1" with shoes on.
Okay, so that's impressive though. That's something. Yeah, I
mean, it's not, but I mean, I wasn't
6'6", so that's what. People always like, oh, you're 6'6", you should be able to dunk easy. It's still not that easy.
You have pretty long arms too. You got little. Proportionally, I wonder, were you ever measured like side to side or whatever? Or
length of arm span? No, I don't think so. Not that I remember. I'm a longer torso guy. Shorter legs, longer torso. Supposed to be good for swimming, apparently, but I don't.
That's what the boy was. Who's the
Phelps? Phelps.
Yeah,
he was long.
Kind of looks like a seal a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's almost his body almost had like micro evolution to be able to. It was
built and designed for that. So. All right, man. Well, hey, Brian, I think Brian's got a spot on his couch. He's going to do some duties around the house. He's got a spot on the couch to watch some baseball today. I'll be smoking meats.
Weather.
Same thing.
Weather, not great. We're going to have to go outside in North Carolina. The weather, not great in a lot of places.
Yeah. A little bit of rain in the forecast. So we'll be enjoying those today. But we appreciate you listening today. Hey, make sure you're clicking the subscribe button so when these come out, you get a notification. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, all the socials. We appreciate that. And then, hey, if you've got questions, WrightStewartPodcast@gmail.com. WrightStewartPodcast@gmail.com. We'll be happy to answer those for you on the air. So, hey, thanks for listening today. Have a great day.
Out. Go Pack.